Hey, what's going on? This is another episode of the Reporter Vlog, pretty much a follow up with a follow up story on pretty much the news of the day. The Minnesota shooting. Uh, Basically, this is pretty much a live update story, pretty much expanding upon the story that just read in part two uh, of the Reporter Vlog news. Um, Here's how we're gonna do. We're gonna start with this story and go straight up. Detailing each accounts of today's horrific news of the two kids getting dying and pretty much 17 injured in Minneapolis. Let's get right into it. Okay, Governor Walz said he is briefed on the shooting at Annunciation Catholic School. Minnesota Governor Walz posted on X today that he had been briefed. He has been briefed on the shooting at the Annunciation Catholic School, and will continue to provide updates, and we'll get more information. The BCA State Police on the scene was on the scene. Walz added, "I'm praying for the kids, teachers whose first week of the school was marred by the horrific act of violence." The Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, and Farms Explosives in St. Paul said it was responding to the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Farms, and Explosive in St. Paul said it was responding to the reports of an active shooter at the church. There's another story. ATF agents respond to active, as far as the ATF agents responding to the active shooter reports. Next one, unknown amount of victims at a church and school in shooting. The NC chair says there was an active shooter here in Minneapolis right now. Unknown amount of victims at a church and school. Democratic National Committee Chair Ken Martin said today. EMS has requested mass casualty. If any of you are doctors or otherwise first responders that could help. It seems to be a very significant shooting, said Martin, who is the former head of the Minnesota Democratic Farmer Labor Party, and is in Minneapolis for a DNC convention. Mayor Jacob Frey said he's monitoring the situation. Minnesota Mayor Jacob Frey said he is monitoring the reports of horrific violence in south of Minneapolis. The emergency response team has been activated. He will share more information as soon as we can, he said in a post on X. Please give our officers the space they need to respond to the situation. FBI is aware of reports of shooting, Deputy Director says. FBI is aware of reports of coming out of at the FBI Minneapolis, and our agents are en route to the scene. FBI Deputy Director Dan Bargino said on a post on X, "We will provide more updates as available." Shooters contained, city said. The city of Minneapolis posted on X just before 10:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time that the shooter is contained and there is no active shooter threat to the community at this time. The city asks people to stay away from the area to allow emergency personnel to help victims. but is known about the Annunciation Catholic School. Annunciation Catholic School was founded in 1923 as a place for students to learn about Christian values and civic mindedness. According to the catch version of the school's website, you'll find teachers, parents, staff, and students who truly value education, faith-based learning, and you'll see these values in action in each of our classrooms, the school says in its website. You'll find teachers, parents, staff, students who truly value education and faith-based learning. You'll see those values in action in each of our classrooms. The school says on its website, the school serves students from preschool through 8th grade. First day of school year was Monday. The school year was Monday, according to a Facebook post. Minneapolis police were already investigating 3 deadly shootings in 12 hours. For today's school shooting, there was 3 deadly shootings in Minneapolis in 12 hours, according to the Minneapolis police. The level of gun violence across the city within the last day is deeply unsettling. The Minneapolis Police Department said in a news release. Across 3 separate multiple victim shootings, 8 people have been injured by gunfire, 3 have lost their lives. The attack of an Annunciation Church would be the 4th deadly shooting in Minneapolis in less than 24 hours. In the most recent shooting, 1 man was killed, another injured at 2:08 a.m. in downtown Minneapolis. Department of Homeland Security monitoring the shooting. Department of Homeland Security said it is also monitoring the shooting. We are in communication with our interagency partners and will share more information as soon as it becomes available. Security Christy Noem said in a post on X, "I'm praying for the victims of this horrendous attack on their families." Trump said he's been briefed on the shooting. President Trump said that he's been fully briefed on the tragic shooting in Minneapolis. FBI quickly responded, and they are on the scene, Trump said in a post on Truth Social, his social media platform. The White House will continue to monitor the terrible situation. Please join me in prayer for everyone involved. Vice President J.D. Vance said on X, We're at the White House monitoring the situation in Minneapolis. Join all of us in praying for the victims. St. Thomas More Catholic School said it's keeping students inside. St. Thomas More Catholic School had to keep students in Minneapolis. Had to keep students. Said it's keeping students and staff inside pending further details about this developing situation. Our hearts and prayers are with the family, with the students, teachers, and community. Annunciation Catholic School in South Minneapolis. The school said in a Facebook post. St. Thomas More Catholic School is about 12 miles from Annunciation Catholic School. And all school mass was scheduled for this morning at Annunciation Church in the school. There was an all-school mass scheduled at 8:15 p.m. local time this morning. or to the calendar on the Annunciation's Church and the school website. Going to the website, this service takes place each Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday morning. Minneapolis Mayor to hold news conference. Mayor Jacob Frey office will hold a news conference at 11 a.m. Pretty much held a news conference at 11:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, according to a spokesperson. School in Southwest Minneapolis. City Meeting Council. A Minneapolis City Council meeting has been canceled according to the public schedule. The meeting was scheduled for 1 p.m. to address the possible litigation matter, but it had been called off. Parents waiting for news about their children after the shooting at Annunciation Church today in Minneapolis. The suspect in the Minneapolis shooting died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound, according to 3 law enforcement officials familiar with the investigation. The scene is emotional at the school with parents. The scene was emotional at the school with the parents in tears as they rush out the campus carrying children on their shoulders, holding them by the hands, pulling them away quickly as possible. Parents were told that they could be reunited with their children in the school basement, said Erin, the mother who gave her first name. Senator Butcher said 7th grader watched her friend being shot in the back and neck. Senator Amy Klobuchar of Minnesota told MSNBC she had spoken to one of her longtime employees who had 3 children in the school during the shooting. The senator described the call with the mother as one of the most unsettling things I've ever heard. The woman's daughter, who was in the 7th grade, watched her friend be shot. Six children are being treated at Children's Minnesota. A hospital spokesperson said, declining to release further details. Children's Minnesota is aware of the recent tragic shooting in Minneapolis. Our teams are trained to respond in times of crisis, are fully prepared to care for impacted children. The hospital said in a statement, "We will not share more details to respect the privacy of our patients and families." When they saw crying and bloody children next to the school. Mike Garrity was walking home from the gym this morning when he heard a series of loud noises that he initially thought were coming from a nail gun at a construction site. When he got closer to the church, he realized something terrible had happened. Garrity, 64, who lives across the street from the Annunciation, saw about a dozen crying children stream out of the school. At least 3 at least 3 of them were covered in blood, he said. He also saw those who appeared to be members of the faculty or staff. Don't go in there, one of them said. Minneapolis police soon arrived at the scene. The officers darted inside the school, Garrity said. Agents with the Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms, Explosives were some of the very first responders to the scene, because they just happens to be in the area of the shooting, going to an ATF source in Minneapolis. The Bureau has at least one firearm in its possession from the shooter, and they are beginning to trace protocol. The source added. President Trump spoke to the Minnesota Governor Tim Walz. A White House official told NBC News that President Trump spoke to Governor Tim Walz following today's shooting. Children are dead, Mayor Frey said. Children were killed today after the shooting at the Annunciation Catholic School morning mass. Mayor Jacob Frey confirmed to reporters. We did not specify the number of victims, but he said that children are dead. You cannot put into words the gravity, tragedy, or absolute pain that of this moment, Frey said. Two kids were killed and 17 people injured, police chief said. 2 children are dead and 17 people are injured, according to the police, Minneapolis police chief Brian O'Hara. During the mass, a gunman approached the outside side of the building, began firing a rifle through the church windows toward the children sitting in the pews at the mass. The chief said the children were 8 and 10. 2 other children are in critical condition. Earl said that 14 of the injured were children. The shooter was armed with a shotgun and a rifle and a pistol. Earl said he described it as an incomprehensible act of cowardice. Father of 2 children who attended the Annunciation was sitting at the work when they got a text message from his wife. She said there was a shooting at the school. One of his sons had been located. I immediately left work. Tyler, the father, and told NBC News outside the school, I was a nervous wreck. I was just shocked and in disbelief. And this was happening at Annunciation. I couldn't get there quick enough. Tyler was ultimately reunited with both of his boys. Suspect was not identified. Authorities are still investigating the possible motive. For now, until later on, he was identified. They're still investigating the possible motive, though. Police Chief Brian O'Hara told reporters. O'Hara added that it had not yet known whether the suspect legally obtained the firearms or whether they had any extensive criminal history. Suspect was alone. He was a lone shooter in his 20s who died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound in the parking lot. It's 4:30 a.m. local time. Authorities say an unidentified shooter which was Robin Westman, approached the side of the church where the Annunciation Catholic School was hosting a morning mass. So out of the building where the shooter approached Robin Westman, two doors where it appears two by four wood planks were placed at the barricade, and the doors were from the outside, according to the Minneapolis Police Chief Brian O'Hara. The shooter began firing in a rifle through the church windows from the side of the building toward the children who were sitting in the pews. He said, "Those are children were inside during the mass at the time." First responders from the police department entered the church to provide first and rescue children who were hiding throughout the building, according to her. Suspect, a man in his 20s, is believed to have died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound in the parking lot, which is pretty much Robin Westman. Investigators are still processing the scene, but Harold said the number of rounds fired appears to be in the dozens. The number of rounds fired by Westman. Right, similar to smoke bomb found, police said. Chief Brian heard the bunk rumors that an improvised explosive device was found at the school after the shooting. He said, however, something that one might call a smoke bomb was found. Earl clarified that wasn't an explosive, but rather a sort of a firework. Hennepin Healthcare is treating 8 pediatric patients, 2 adults. Hennepin's Healthcare said that it is treating 8 pediatric patients and 2 adults. The hospital initially said at a morning news conference that it had 9 pediatric patients, 6 children and 1 adult are in the critical condition. Hospital said the news conference released 2 other pediatric patients and an adult have non-life-threatening injuries. Dr. Thomas Wyatt, chair of the emergency medicine, told reporters that 4 patients required the operating room. Pediatric patients range in age from 6 to 14. He said the hospital said that none of the patients have been discharged and there have been no fatalities. Annunciation's former interim pastor devastated and shocked. Reverend Bob Hart, former interim pastor at Annunciation, who left in June after 1 year, said the deadly violence in the school was unbelievable to him. It's hard to believe that this could happen at a Catholic mass. Hart told NBC News, "I'm devastated that this happened at a place I just left 2 months ago." Hart 77 described the Annunciation as a very close-knit, very supportive community where everyone is made to feel welcome. He did not know that the identities of the victims. He said, however, he expects to recognize many names if the authorities make that information public. Everything gonna stop right there. Yeah, because I already read the official story. It's just recounting this expansion upon the a more detailed version of that story. Yeah, but they gonna stop right there. I just keep it. Just keep the story on my page, my Facebook page, and leave it at that. Because this story is horrific enough. But it'll do it. I'm gonna cut it off right there. Read enough. Like I said in part one, he just gonna have to do something and quit playing around with that I have a right to carry arms nonsense. So I know I'm gonna leave it alone nonsense. Cause you cannot ignore this. United States is far from becoming state of mass shootings. It has a serious history of these events. Or these this was like it's these tragedies. These tragedies. But like I said, he's gonna have to do something. Donald J. Trump is gonna have to do something. And since he likes signing executive orders and whatnot, since he likes uh, 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 calling up nobody, since he like calling up National Guards and putting them in play in cities and it don't really need National Guard protection. Shoot. These, that's what like it's like a lady said. If you really want to end, if you really want to end uh, um, um, mass shootings in the schools and whatnot, put them National Guards at them schools. That's where them National Guards need to be. Not in Washington D.C. where they don't even hardly got nothing to do. Not in cities that has a reputation, according to him, of being bad cities. Put them at the schools. This is the perfect example that them National Guards need to be at them schools. It's a perfect example. Cause that's a shame. If you truly look at, if you truly collide them two stories, the story that happened today, and and the National Guards being in Washington D.C., man, that's really a shame. It really didn't have to happen, but the National Guards were in Washington D.C. That's a shame. National Guards were in D.C. and this tragedy happened, ended up happening. The National Guards were in the state that didn't even need no National Guard presence, and this tragedy happened. Let that sink in. National Guards were walking in D.C. while this tragedy was happening. To put it a better way, man, that says a lot. Says a lot. Once again, National Guards were in D.C. picking up trash while this tragedy ended up happening. And around about, I think they say that a little bit after 10, before 10, I think a little bit after 8:30. Let that sink in. Let that sink in, America. Let that sink in, Republicans. You had the National Guard in your own backyard while this tragedy was happening. That goes for all the rest of the mass shootings. One in Florida State, the one, that Army guy that went off. The one in Florida State, that guy. But this one, man. That's if you want to really use the National Guard. Yeah. Instead of having them walking around a city that doesn't need the National Guard. Put them at the schools. Give them something to do. But he won't do that. Yeah, he won't do that at all. But that's something to think about. The National Guard was in D.C. while this tragedy happened in Minneapolis, Minnesota. And do you really think that tragedy would have happened if the National Guard was in Minneapolis guarding that school? No. But let's open up another story. It tells even more of a truth about Donald J. Trump. But that'll do it. I haven't said enough. Prayers to the family of this tragedy. I know Dawson's prayers ain't too popular now, but he still need prayer. Still need prayer. Shoot. But this they'll never be forgotten along with the other ones. My goodness. So, but like I said, that says a lot. That says a lot. Keep that in mind. D.C. Guard were in Washington D.C. while this tragedy was happening. I'm gone.